Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Enes Kanter Freedom, who plays professional basketball for the Boston Celtics. He's on the road with his team in Philadelphia, where he joins us from. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Mr. Kanter, I want to talk not so much about basketball, but about all the advocacy you've been conducting for the past years, and especially the issue of human rights in China. You've recently criticized basketball, let's say, foremost superstar LeBron James for not being vocal enough to denounce human rights violation in China, especially against the Uyghur minority. Is it because he embodies, in a way, the National Basketball Association, or because he represents Nike, or both of the above?
It is important because it's bigger than basketball. You see, there are so many, human rights violations are happening, not just in Turkey, my home country, Turkey, but all over the world. And obviously, China is top of the list. And what I'm trying to do is always trying to bring awareness of what's going on all around the world. And I think, when you ask me that question, I will just say both. Obviously, every year there are billions of dollars that are involved with the relationship between NBA and China. But same time, Nike, the biggest sponsor of NBA, is pretty much a modern day slavery right now. And there are so many sweatshops over there in China. And I believe not just me, but all the athletes, good players, bad players, big players, small players, all of them has to go out there and set something so it can bring change.
But obviously, you're one of the only ones doing that. And again, LeBron James and other superstars. I mean, you're a very good player, but you're not LeBron James. Why do you think they refrain from doing so? Is it because they don't care, or because they also have their corporate interest with Nike or other big companies, and they realize that if they do so, they will get into trouble?
I'm keep telling these players before you put your signature on a paper and sign in this multi-million-dollar with these companies, and do some little research and educate yourself about it. Right now, there are so many, violations are happening in a area called Xinjiang in China, but I think obviously whenever I sit down with an athlete, they always say there a lot of money involved, a lot of business involved, and endorsement deals are involved, and there are so many shoe sales and jersey sales in China. But I'm keep telling these people every time you put that shoes on your feet and you put that T-shirt on your back, or you there are so much blood and sweat and oppression on those items. So I'm always saying, be careful.
Right. I mean, to change a little bit, the people you're calling on, you recently called on Elon Musk, who's obviously the billionaire entrepreneur, for seemingly opening a Tesla showroom, especially in Xinjiang. And you could say that Elon Musk knows exactly what he's doing.
I mean, we actually there's a bill just passed in Biden administration, and if you are a company and you have to show that your company has nothing to do with slave labor, there is a bill just passed about 10 days ago. And unfortunately, right after that, Elon Musk opened up a showroom in Xinjiang recently, and I couldn't believe it. And there's no way that Elon or his company doesn't know what's going on over there. But I feel like China uses money to buy silence, and they just bought Elon.
Do you advocate? I mean, we've seen a movement towards boycotting the Olympic Games to be held in China in just a couple of weeks, but it's been a diplomatic boycott. The US, the UK, Australia have said they would not send officials there. However, their athletes will compete. Are you disappointed? Are you calling really for a full boycott? And what about the corporate sponsors, especially the Western ones, that are obviously working for the Olympic Games.
You know, first of all, obviously U.S. started it, then U.K., Canada, and many other countries, Australia, and many other countries are following that road. You know, I believe diplomatic boycott is good, but it's not enough. You know, and I believe there has to be another some actions needs to be taken. But I believe the athlete needs to come out there and said enough is enough, and we need to bring our voice into this conversation, because they are going to be the one that's going to make the real change. um, you know i I understand people's perspective. They keep asking me, do you think it's fair that all these athletes are working their whole life to get to this point, and now you're telling them to not to go? But all these athletes out there, I'm calling them out and saying all the gold medals in the world that you can win, it is not more important than your morals, your principles, and your values. So I believe we have to stand up for the right thing. And the other thing is, if you're an athlete, right, there are so many, young generation out there, kids out there watching you and idolizing you and following your footsteps. So I feel like we have to be a good example for those little kids out there. And the companies, I understand there are so much, money involved, and it's the Olympics. But while we are talking right now, there is a genocide happening. So I feel like we have to take a stronger stance.
Right. I mean, let's say some athletes are going. Are you telling them maybe while you're there, if possible, even if it's risky, they should say something the same way you have on your sneakers sometimes some slogans to at least show that they care?
There's actually that will be a really good idea. But the other thing is, look what China did to their own tennis player,
Right.
Peng Shuai, right? And I keep telling these athletes, are we really going to feel comfortable for sending our athletes to those to a country like China? So I believe we have to be really, really careful.
I want to turn to your native country,
Mm.
Turkey. Your passport was revoked several years ago. You were charged with belonging to a terrorist group because of your ties to Fethullah Gulen, who is in exile in the U.S., and that the Erdogan regime accuses
Mhm.
of being behind the 2016 coup. What is your take on the situation about human rights in Turkey right now?
First of all, one thing about Mr. Gulen, you know, that night, actually, the night of the coup, I was with him, and I saw what Mr. Gulen did with my own eyes. He sat on his chair and prayed for his country. Him or any of his followers or students did not involve in the coup attempt. So President Erdogan is lying. The second thing is, if you look at what's happened over there in Turkey, Turkey is the number one country in the world that put the most journalists in the jail. And just because I was outspoken, my passport has been revoked. My name is on Interpol list. They put my dad in jail and they raided my whole house. And there are so much political prisoners in the country right now. They're waiting for help. And I think if you are following the the things that are happening in Middle East, you kind of know what kind of person Erdogan is. He threatens whole Europe about a refugee situation, and he is pretty much leading the country like a mafia leader. But I feel like the European Union, America needs to step in and do something about it, because Turkey is playing a very important role on Middle East and Europe. So I believe we should definitely do something about it.
Right. What should be done about it? I mean, are you calling for regime change in Turkey or just normal elections to try to basically choose your own leader?
I believe, from normal elections, nothing's going to come out because Erdogan's going to somehow win it. I believe he's going to steal votes and win it somehow. Even if he lose it, he's not going to count it. You look what happened, I believe, 3 years ago when the mayoral elections were happening in Turkey, and he lost it, but he didn't count it. He redo the elections. But I believe, Turkey was a democratic country. It was peaceful, economy was good. Now you look at Turkey right now, because Turkey could have been a bridge of Islam and West, but just because of all this stuff happening right now, it's impossible. And regime needs to change, yes. Because once the regime change, I believe Turkey is going to try to stand again and try to be a democratic country. But under Erdogan's, you know, dictatorship, it's impossible.
Just as a last question, you decided to become an American citizen a few weeks ago. You changed your name from
Mhm.
NS Cantor to NS Cantor Freedom. Obviously, an important choice for you. Why did you do that?
That word is so important to me, because there are so many political prisoners are, in jails, not just in Turkey or China, but all over the world. And to me, that word is so much to me, and I wanted to carry it everywhere I go. And I wanted all the little kids out there research that last name and see what that means. And because in America, obviously, I wanted to become an American citizen because there are rules and laws and checks and balances here. And just because of you criticize the government, you are not going to be thrown in jails, or your passport was not going to be revoked, or your name is not going to be Interpol list. So I believe that word is world to me, and I'm glad that I did it.
NS Cantor Freedom, I want to thank you very much for appearing on the France 24 interview. And I want to thank you all for watching the program. Stay tuned for more news.